The US President Donald Trump has thrown his support behind actress Sydney Sweeney, who is facing criticism over a recent advertising campaign she featured in. The American Eagle ads featured the star alongside the slogan, "Sydney Sweeney has great genes." It has since been criticised by some who are accusing her of being racist and promoting the theory of eugenics. Sydney Sweeney has now been revealed to be a registered Republican, and that prompted this defence from the US president.
She's a registered Republican? Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic.
It made his day. Joining me now is former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. We're going to tackle the big issues here on AM Agenda this morning. The Sydney Sweeney ad. I mean, you can't do anything these days if she's being attacked for being in this ad. Sydney Sweeney has great genes. I think maybe people just think a little bit too deeply about this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, Laura, welcome to August from Washington, D.C., in my country, where it's the only month out of the year where we pretend we're Europeans and everybody goes home for the month, which means we have a lot of slow news days, and this might be one of them. But I just want your viewers to recognize the last 30 seconds that you showed on your television is not AI generated. That was a real conversation with the President of the United States about the ad. And yeah, there's a couple of people who apparently think that the ad promotes white supremacy. And eugenics, which is just sort of gives you a sense of where we are in the country these days. I think Trump did a nice job with it, sort of making light out of that which deserves to be made light of. But to a larger extent, some really good commentary in this country in the last couple of days over how so few people are taking the bait over whether or not this is a racist ad or a racially based ad. And the general consensus is that no one cares, that we're beyond this sort of hypersensitive, woke time in the United States of America. And maybe we're going back to the point where, you know, an ad about genes is just an ad about genes and not about politics.
Really? That is so interesting, Mick. So tell me, what is going on? Is it just because it's August and that people, you know, maybe the woke brigade is on holidays and the sensible people who work hard through the holidays are taking over? But more seriously, this is really interesting. Do you think the crazy woke stuff has reached now a tipping point?
Pendulums swing, and they tend to swing too far to the left and too far to the right before they settle someplace in the middle. And there's just a fascinating conversation going on right now domestically about where we are on the pendulum of wokeism and DEI and all those types of things. There's a new movie out right now, which is a pure comedy. I don't know if the Naked Gun movies ever made it down under 20 or 30 years ago.
Come on, please. We don't live in a cave down here.
I don't know what translates from our English into your English. But the commentary here is that this is a movie you could not have made 3 or 4 years ago. That pure comedy is coming back, that people are no longer afraid to try and be funny. Clearly, corporations are no longer afraid to try and be a little bit maybe sexy in their presentation of their product and so forth, that the pendulum is swinging. Whether or not it swings too far back to the other side, I think is open for discussion. But right now, there's a fascinating internal dialogue here in the United States about whether or not we're getting sort of back to normal after a bizarre time in the woke far left regions of our country.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that as well, because there's been a lot of column inches dedicated to why some late night talk show hosts have been sacked as well. It was Colbert, wasn't it? Was it Stephen Colbert? Yeah, so he was sacked. I mean, there was some criticism and a fair bit of analysis that said, particularly from the left, that said it was because he was too lefty, he was too political, he endorsed Kamala Harris and he was too critical of Donald Trump. But do you think that is the case, or is that late night television slot just being overtaken by the advent of social media?
The real hardcore danzines of the left want you to believe that things like this, it was a late night television program in this country. It was fairly widely known, very popular, but losing a tremendous amount of money. And the left wants folks here to believe this is politically motivated. The number I saw, Laura, they're losing $40 million US a year on that program.
Wow.
You don't get to do that here for very long before being canceled. Look, if that particular program had been canceled because it had been offensive to Donald Trump, my guess is it would have been canceled effective immediately. And it wasn't. It was canceled effective at the end of the existing contract, which is May of next year. So it's clearly to any folks who sort of sit back and want to take a disinterested sort of third party look at this, that these decisions were economic and not political. Again, that's why I say this is part of this larger discussion in my country right now as to whether or not really is everything need to be political, or can things still be funny? Can things be sexy? Can things be economic? Maybe everything isn't driven by woke DEIism and transgender studies.
Yeah, that's true. I also wonder, I mean, Donald Trump derides the woke left and their lack of a sense of humour, but Donald Trump also doesn't like when he is the brunt of the jokes. I think, well, I mean, you're laughing because you're not surprised at me pointing that
you're
out.
Right.
That's
you're
right.
Not wrong.
But I just think comedy is such an important part of a healthy democratic society. I don't agree with what every comedian. I don't think every comedian is funny, of course. Some certainly tip over the line, but I think their presence and the embracing of the comedic kind of genre and people who are very good. I'm thinking, Dave Chappelle, Ricky Gervais. They are a mirror on a society many times, and if they were ever to be cancelled, well, it really takes out a really important reflection of us and criticism of the powers that be.
Yeah, as far as that pendulum swinging, I don't think we've gotten to the point where Donald Trump is really welcoming comedy about himself.
No. Does he think anyone's funny?
He does. He thinks a lot of folks are funny. They're just not when they're making fun of him. And a lot of folks are like that. Look, I've always operated under the thesis that if you want to make fun of somebody else, you have to be able to make fun of yourself. And I really, really like making fun of other people, so I have to be able to tolerate people making fun of me. I'm not sure everybody does that. Donald Trump doesn't like being made fun of. Does he have a sense of humor? He absolutely does. There's no question about it. But look, he's 80 years old. I'm not sure a lot of 80-year-olds really want to be made fun of at this point in their lives. There was a very high-profile comedy show here about his naked body this past week. I'm not making that up either.
No, he wouldn't like that. And no one would like that, absolutely, to be embarrassed or be the brunt of the jokes. But just give me some insight here. Give us some insight. Was he at all self-deprecating when you worked at the White House with him? Or that doesn't really seem like his style?
No, he really was. It's part of the things that people I don't think understand about Donald Trump. Yeah, he always used to, he will make fun of himself. He'll typically do it in private. Every now and then it comes out in public. I remember talking to him about Camp David one time, the presidential retreat. And I asked him if he liked it or not. He said, well, Mick, I didn't want to like it because they told me it was rustic. And I don't do rustic. But I went out there and it was the way I would do rustic. So he can have a good sense of humor about himself. But look, this is a larger part of a conversation about where we are as a country right now. Maybe we're getting back to where folks are not nearly as afraid to say stuff in public as they were just 2 years ago. Yeah,
well, that is a good turning point. What do you think the point will be where you think we've got back to the sensible centre? What will be the signs, do you think?
We'll see how this movie does on the pure comedy movies. Look, I don't know what it is, Laura. I don't know if anybody knows what it is. I want to see open debate in this country again. I want to see college campuses be places where people can go and speak freely without fear of repercussions. I want to see Republicans and Democrats get hired evenly. Listen, I worked with a lot of people, a lot of very talented young conservative people who went 3 and 4 years without a job after the end of the last Trump administration because they were blacklisted by most major U.S. corporations and most organizations in Washington, D.C. because of their affiliation with Trump. I hope we get beyond that to where politics doesn't impact everything. Right now, it still impacts comedy and sport and fashion, and I'm hopeful that we get beyond that relatively quickly.
Let's hope so. Mick, great to talk to you today.
Thanks, Laura.